believe it or not, we have not always done YouTube.
No.
Of course, that's actually probably not all that hard to believe. In a recent video, we asked for people to kind of give us some suggestions on maybe what they were interested about, and one of the comments was, what did you do before you did YouTube? And we've mentioned this briefly on the channel before, but we've got a lot of new subscribers since then, and we're not sure that everyone's seen that video, and I don't know that we've done a video that was strictly just about this before.
Probably not.
So we wanted to kind of do a video today and talk about what we did before we did YouTube. And we are very fortunate that at this point YouTube is pretty much, for me, it's what I do full-time. I would say maybe sort of part-time for Katie, and then of course she has her jewelry and her rock business, but we've been able to kind of leave the normal workforce, so to speak, to do YouTube.
Yeah, I would say that. That's good. Pretty much sums it up. I get a lot of questions, you know, Katie, what is your job? And I think people don't, I don't know if I've been clear about it or if they don't believe me or they don't understand, but my jewelry business, it's my full-time job. It is a full-time job for me. And like Corey said, I kind of do the YouTube more of a part-time. Corey does a little bit more of the work. I help a little bit. Of course, I'm here in the videos. I help a little bit as far as editing and the background goes.
Yeah.
But my full-time job, even really before we got super serious about YouTube, was my business. It is a full-time job. It keeps me busy.
Yeah.
And it's not a hobby.
Right.
It is a job. It keeps me busy.
Right. And then, of course, I mean, a lot of people who've been on the channel know this, but then I help Mom in her channel 2 days a week. If you don't know that our mom has a YouTube, we'll leave the link in the description. So we do a lot of YouTube here around this house. We do a lot of filming. We pretty much always have our phones and cameras out at any time. But we want to talk about what we did before YouTube. We both had several jobs. A lot of the jobs were at the same place. And we should first talk about when we decided to kind of do YouTube kind of full-time, or try to pursue it full-time and kind of leave behind the normal workforce, so to speak. That was December of 2020, or December, maybe in 2021, because we've had this YouTube channel for like 10 years. If you go back, you're going to see videos when we're in our teens, and our cousin actually started the channel and he would put things up, but we didn't actually really start trying to go after it until like December of 2020, early 2021.
Yeah.
And then I think by spring of 2021 we had got monetized. However, the goal in 2021 was really not to get monetized at first. It was more just when COVID happened, we didn't have any gigs and we weren't playing a lot of music, and I felt like I had reached all this potential, and then was like, and now I have no motivation to play because everything's closed. And I thought, what if I just did like a country song once a week? And then that was so fun, and the interaction with people here on the channel was amazing. And somewhere around that time is when our mom got monetized, her channel did, so then it was kind of like, wait a second, what if this is a possibility? And then, you know, we built this awesome community. So anyways, to catch everybody up to speed, what was some of our first jobs, or past jobs before YouTube?
Probably one of the first things, and just to say, I was not, Corey was not either, but I'll say I was not one of those kids that could have worked a job and went to and drove myself to high school, and I rode the bus when I was in high school. I did not work when I was in high school. That is just, well, I might have been a senior or so, but that is just not something I did. My parents said, you know, the most important thing is that you go to school, you make good grades, and you focus on that, and we'll worry about everything else. So then one of the first things I did, and we both ended up doing it, I started first and then you got onto it. I started working for this guy in our community who's a landscaper, and he had been landscaping for way longer than I'd been alive. He had a very successful big landscape business, and he had scaled it down to where he only just had a few of us working because he was older and more of a retirement age. And so I somehow, I don't remember how that happened, ended up working for him, and he was working on this job here in Brasstown at these people's house. And so I started one summer, and I was doing all kinds of stuff, landscaping, like planting stuff, slinging mulch and like pine straw. And then they needed more help. So then I was like, well, I'll make my sister do it.
Yeah,
so,
I've got a sister.
right. So it was only a few, like probably only like a week or a week and a half of me doing it by myself. Then Corey came with me. So then we started doing this big landscape job at these people's house who they had a beautiful yard. Their house was beautiful too. And it's really not that far from here at all. And so then we finished the job that summer of what they wanted to do. And then they wanted somebody to come back and maintain the yard, weed eat, and keep it up, because it was kind of elaborate. It was like a Japanese style.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, big rocks and mulch, and it was just, it was a yard that took some serious maintenance. So then me and Corey would go back all the time and maintain this yard. And then they told their friend about us, and then we picked up his yard and we started mowing and weed eating and maintaining his yard. So and we did that for a long time.
And then right there close, well, actually the next door neighbor to this other guy's house, then for a very brief time at the end of our landscaping career,
we picked up their
house and then kind of realized,
like, whoa, this is way too much.
This is a little bit too much. And people who landscape have equipment, usually like 0-turn mowers and that kind of stuff. And we didn't. We had a weed eater and a push mower. And when you've got a yard that's like an acre big.
Yeah. I think we mowed that yard like twice, and I was like, I'm done with this.
I was like, yeah, this is just really not going to work. But we did the landscaping for a while, and...
We were young. We weren't even 20.
No, it was...
We might have been like 17.
It was fun. It was good, but it was hard.
Well, and we did that while we went to college, too.
Yeah, we did that while we went to college. And I will say, though, one of the most valuable things that I learned from that job was I can dig a perfectly round hole.
So can I.
I can... We learned how to take a regular shovel and dig a perfectly round hole.
Mm-hmm.
And about kind of planting stuff. I mean, we learned a lot about that, which is kind of nice because we like to garden, so...
I was talking about this morning. We, at some point, me and Corey realized that we had bit off more than we could chew, pretty much, with that property and just with everything else that we had going on. And I remember one time, I knew my dad was coming through. We wanted something from him. Maybe it was gas for the weed eater.
Yeah, I think
something. And I called him and I said, "Will you bring me some gas on the way home?" So he come and brought it, and he just kind of had realized too, and he was like, "Well, you really, both of you have bit off more than you can chew, but it's too late now. You said you'd do it. You're gonna do it, and you'd better just grab another gear and go, and just do it." And I was like, that was really good advice. It's like, we just had to jump in there and just get it done, because it was like I felt it was probably also like 3 o'clock. It was probably like July.
100 degrees.
It was like 100 degrees, and I was like, I can't do it. I've been at this all day, and I felt like that was when we were doing that mulch, I think. And it was just load after load after bucket load of mulch. It was just, it was a serious amount of work. But that was a really good life lesson of, you better just double down, work harder, work faster, get it done, and maybe next time don't overestimate kind of what you're able to do.
Yeah. Those were interesting times. And let's see, after that, probably the next job that I had, we actually both ended up working, and Mom even worked there for a little while too at the folk school that's near our house. I worked there from 2017 to, I don't know, 2019 or something, not that long. And it just wasn't really a good fit for me, not like I thought it would be. But I worked in the office, and I was like part-time, and sometimes I worked in registration, and that was like my first kind of real job, first office job. I remember my job interview, I was so nervous. And after that, I left there to literally go right across the road to like this yoga center, and kind of did something kind of similar in the office, and that didn't really work out all that well either. I wasn't there for very long at all. And then after that, we can backtrack to
pick up what I did.
But then we ended up at the same place after that.
Again, right. So some point in the mix of there, I worked out also at the folk school, and it was another one of those lucrative. I just ended up walking backwards into the strangest stuff.
Yeah, just kind of falling backwards into, okay.
Yeah, I did. So then I got a phone call one time from somebody, because I had been involved there. We did an internship there. I'd taught some classes. I had assisted some classes there. So I had been plenty involved, and I got a phone call, and they were needing somebody, and they picked, they said, well, if you can do it, we'll just let you do it. They were needing somebody to be an assistant to this woman that they had hired to be the temporary archivist there, because they had taken their archives and collections, moved them to a different dedicated space, and they were kind of, just to be 100% honest, in total disrepair and shambles. And this woman had come in, and that was her background, and kind of cleaned that up and started kind of a program and a way of doing things there. So I was like, archiving? What are you talking about? I'm thinking museum work, but I got pretty deep into the world of archives and collections, and ended up staying to help her. I think that was like in May one year. Staying just to be her assistant. She trained me. She told me what to do, give me some literature to read, give me some resources. She ended up leaving because she got a teaching job in St. John's in Canada. Left, and I stayed there, and I worked without her for quite some time. And I was just the archivist for a while. And I was doing everything that I was showed to do, everything that I was trained to do. And let me tell you something, literally anybody who would have come in there and give that collection and archive some attention would have been great, because it had just been neglected and had no attention at all. So I did that for a while, really liked it. I called my workspace the hole, because I was in the top of a building, and it was a climate controlled, I had to keep it cold. And
didn't have any windows.
Yeah, well, there was little windows. There was a few skylights, but I had thick UV light protection on the windows to keep the sunlight from coming in and like baking the papers. So, yeah, I did that for a little while. But before that, you did jewelry, remember?
I did
for a brief stunt.
For someone else, not.
Oh gosh,
not for you.
Dang, I forgot all about that.
That was probably your first.
That was
maybe after the landscaping.
After the landscaping, yeah. So archive thing didn't work out. I was super butthurt, thought I wanted to do that, and then later I was like, no, I'm not gonna spend my day all day in the hole with these stuffy papers and old gross stuff. I'm not doing this. Which I respect everyone who does it. But anyway, and I learned a lot, and it was a great experience. But before that, I ended up going on part-time to work for a woman. It's funny, a woman who owned her own business, a very successful, large business, making jewelry. And I worked with a woman that I had worked with before on the landscaping crew. She ended up working with her. So that was kind of
very interconnected.
Yeah, it was interesting to at least know a familiar face. And so I won't say a whole lot about that familiar face. So anyway, I ended up working for this woman, and she was really nice, actually. And I did production work, and I worked downtown in a 3-story building. And so I would sit out at the window, and I would do, like, when I say production, I mean I would make like 100 clasps to go on a necklace a day, 100 pair of ear wires to go on earrings a day, like just production work. She didn't do any soldering. She could, but she just didn't do it for that type of jewelry. So it was all hammering metal. It was all gold fill stuff. Dad worked very close to there at that time. So I would wait till lunchtime. I would look out the window. I could see Dad come down the sidewalk. We would meet for lunch, go somewhere. He would stay there. I would go there. So I worked in town doing that for a little while. Then I did the folk school job. And then when did I do that? It may have crossed over into when we worked together, but then I got into Cherokee County Schools. I got my certificate to sub, and then I started subbing for different schools, and I picked up an after-school program. So I started traveling to several other schools to do after-school work with the kids. Sometimes if I subbed, I'd be there all day, do the after-school program. I did it one summer. I stayed all summer, and but during the summer, might have been 4, 5, 6 weeks, something, probably like 2 months, like 6 weeks. And we would do fun stuff with them. We would try to do educational stuff, but it would be, instead of just after school, it was all day long, all week long. We had these kids doing these programs with them. I did that for a while until one day I woke up and I was like, yeah, I'm not too deep to get out of this. There's people who are like 30 and 20 years into this, and this ain't my calling, and I've had about all I'm going to take, and I ain't going to do this no more. However, I love kids. I loved the kids I worked with. They were wonderful, and it was a sweet and fun, rewarding experience. Sometimes I miss it because kids, they can teach you so much. You can learn so much from them. So that was just kind of crazy. But all the while, all the entire time that I was doing these jobs, I was doing my own jewelry. It just hadn't got off the ground. I was still developing my skills. I was still trying to catch the house on fire and burn myself and lose stuff and drop everything on the floor, and just honing my skill set while all this was going on in the background. And then flash forward, I guess I got that job too, and then the boss was looking. I got a bug.
Eyelash.
We went to Young Harris College, and very close to Young Harris College is a lapidary school, and one of the only ones that there is really, like in the southeast. I learned about it. I found out they had a job opening for a marketing person, and I thought, well, part of my degree in college was marketing, so I do know what I'm doing. I have a degree. I had that at that point. My business was going. I officially opened my Etsy shop in 2014. I think that's the year I graduated high school. So I'm coming up on 10 years. Whoa, I'm coming up on 10 years.
And one thing I wanted to say before we talk about the next place we're going to talk about is the one that we worked at last before we started together before we kind of started pursuing YouTube. But I somewhat similarly had kind of a side business with the soap and stuff. That really was probably my initial very first thing that I tried, even before the landscaping, was just making soap and making other stuff like that, and I loved it, but it just never really took off, which is interesting now that that was kind of my first passion, and it never took off. But now, thanks to all of you wonderful guys on YouTube, I can't make enough soap. So this is sort of a side note.
Sure, because Corey, I should have mentioned that, was doing the same thing. I'll set this up, and you talk about this. Corey would be better to talk about this, because Corey stayed there longer than I did. So this lapidary school, William Holland School of Lapidary Arts, so I just call it William Holland, everybody does for short. And I'm positive somebody watching this video knows what I'm talking about.
Or it's probably been there or something.
Right. I love the place. It was just a blast.
It was a cool place to work.
It was fun. They do great things. So what actually ended up happening is, I forgot. I was going to say, I heard they needed a job. I heard they had a job to fill. No, I took a class. That's what happened. I took a intro to cabin class, learned how to cab, got my own machine, and then found out that they needed a marketing position filled. I went and applied for the job. I got the job. I started doing their marketing stuff. We got all geared up and ready to open in April, and COVID happened. So then nothing happened. I actually never worked there when there were students. The time that I worked,
we never got to work there when there were students, because it was closed for like 2 years because of COVID, or 2 seasons.
Right. So I did the marketing stuff. I learned a lot about cabbing. I learned a lot about taking care of the cabbing machines. But it's a beautiful place, and I enjoyed being there. And so I worked there for a little while, and then I ended up putting in a notice, and I ended up quitting to pursue my jewelry business. I had done on the side had gotten big enough to where I was like, I'm going to quit and just do, not because I didn't like the job. I loved the job. Obviously, it was literally, I loved it, but I just was like, this is the time. No bills, no kids, not married. This is my time to run out on my own and figure this out. And so, which, can't say that now. Little bit with me now, and let me tell you something, Little Bit's made a lot of jewelry this week. So, but anyway, that's what I ended up doing. But Corey stayed longer than I did. Corey was better than I was.
No,
Corey did better than I.
No, we just had different jobs, and I can't remember how long that you had been there, but I remember, that our boss, which she was awesome.
She was awesome.
She needed someone else, and Katie was like, well, I've got a sister, and I was so excited for that interview, because I had just been kind of trying to do music, and I was teaching guitar lessons and helping this other older lady at her house. So I was just kind of doing little things here and there in between, and I was super excited. And I can't remember, you left in December, and then I stayed maybe until February. Yeah, I don't remember. Till the spring, maybe.
Maybe longer than that.
Maybe longer than that. But I did kind of similar stuff that I did at the folk school. I answered the phone. Registration. But this school was much smaller than the folk school. So there was only like 1 or 2 registrars, and
I did a little bit of registrar work.
And we all would kind of switch around.
I wasn't good.
And mostly office work. And then one thing that was really neat about that job in particular, was when COVID happened, you know, of course, any business was trying to kind of maximize their funds because it was a really hard time. But we ended up doing online auctions. And
That
so
was fun.
we would be responsible for picking out, it was like 30 or 40 items, taking the picture, putting them online into this website that we had that we went through.
Better World Auctions.
Better World Auctions, and then people would buy it. Then my job was always like one day of the week, the next morning I would come in and like print kind of the sheet, and then I would have to ship everybody's stuff. So I got really good and really fast at shipping. And another thing that was kind of cool that happened during that time was we got an estate from people. Unfortunately, I think the wife had passed first, and then the man did, and so of course that was very sad. But they
donated their
rock estate to the school, and it was, you just cannot like imagine.
It was like an 18-wheeler truck.
It was insane, and it was like the nicest of the nicest stuff. And of course, I don't know as much about rocks as Katie does, but I'm still interested in rocks, and I learned so much when I was at that school about rocks. So many different kinds of rocks, and hi, Dad.
It was a privilege, to be 100% honest,
It was
just
so
to
cool.
lay my eyes on that
So many
stuff
different
and
things.
learn. I learned about a type of rock called confetti agate because we got in some slabs, and I was like, I have never seen anything like this. This is really weird. And I learned about a book. This man, Ron Gibbs, who has since passed away, but he wrote a book called Agates and Jaspers. It's very hard to get a hold of now. It's out of print. It's expensive if you find it. I found it on eBay, and the school had a copy because he was very big in the school. And I was able to identify this rock as confetti agate. It was mined in Mexico, Lord, probably in the 70s, and it was mined out. So what's floating around out there now, there's not much of it. It's expensive. Most people don't even know about it. I'm obsessed with it.
But
I would have never known,
No.
had I not ever seen. I feel like even that just changed my life because I was so excited. And I bought on that auction. I wouldn't do it much because Chris is like, you can't compete. Our boss was like, she's like, you can't compete with the students. I said, there's just that one slab that I really want. So I got on that auction and bid for it. And I cut some of it up, but I still kept some of it. And there may be one piece like that big I've kept and I probably won't cut. But I would have never known any of that.
No, and that was one of the funnest things about the job to me is it was amazing, all the rocks. And there was rough
Thousands.
rocks, but a lot of it was slabs, you know, just a completely flat, you know, so you could make cabs out of it. Oh my gosh, just going to the shed. There was a whole shed that had slabs, and
Thousands,
then we
yeah.
got so many slabs, not just from that estate, but just other people who would bring stuff, especially during COVID, because we would ask if anyone has donations, we need to keep getting stuff so we can do these auctions. And it, to me, is just mesmerizing to go through all of these rocks that are just beautiful. And even if they're the same type of rock, they're so different, and just the patterns and the color. I mean, it's like such a true testament. You know, you can really see God's hand in that. And it was so fun. That part of the job was just awesome.
I feel like it. I mean, and it's not what would you say? An exaggeration to say that was a once in a lifetime chance just to
really cool.
to get to see and look at and hold and study so many different types of material. There's people who go a lifetime and never get to see
that much material.
Yep, and in person and really get to look at it and try to learn about it and understand, make notes. That's what I would do. I'd write down the names so I could go home and look for it on eBay or wherever. I've been privileged
awesome.
to see lots of material in museums and all kinds of places, but that was a great job. And what's funny is now that I look back over my career, I'm like, the landscaping, well, that kind of prepared me for a lot of what I do now, which is hard work, manual labor. A lot of me making the jewelry, my shop is in the basement, so I stand. I don't sit because I'm one of the people, this is like as long as I'll sit. I might stand for 10 or 12 hours a day on that concrete, and it's manual. I mean, it's tiny, meticulous, it's manual labor. The landscaping prepared me for that. The landscaping prepared me for the garden work, for my garden that I grew over here. The shipping that we did at William Holland, I helped with it, prepared us for what we do now. The marketing degree I got in college prepared me for what I do now. At William Holland, I learned some marketing tricks, which helped me do what we do now, how we made the ornaments, how we do thumbnails, everything.
It's all kind of interconnected, kind of like
along the
built
way.
up.
There's skill sets that I learned that I had no idea that I was learning.
And I would say that we've had, like, I never really thought about it until now, but just sitting here talking about it and thinking about it, all that seems, at least to me, like fairly different or interesting jobs, because we had the landscaping, you know, you work
that
in the
was
school
good money.
system,
Just
doing
tough.
jewelry and working at the folk school, working at William Holland. I mean, it was pretty much all craft schools for me.
Yeah.
All schools, because even the yoga center that I worked at was sort of somewhat of it was a place that taught classes. So it was all kind of like that.
It was all schools for me too.
There's
Cherokee
pros
County
and
schools.
cons. Yeah, there's pros and cons to all of those jobs, but I gotta say, thus far, this is my favorite job, is creating content. Every video is just like a project. It's so fun to think of the idea and then film it and then put it out there. And it's amazing because it allows us to be really flexible to where, you know, we can help with our grandmas who have needed our help. And just being home in the evenings where I can cook supper and do laundry and keep the house. And I love the flexibility, and then we love creating content. We feel like we're led to do that, and we enjoy it. And you know, I feel such purpose in this, and that we're able to just have good, clean content, and you know, hopefully it comes across as faith-based. And I'm sure it does with the devotionals. But
this is the most, I was going to say purpose, this is the most purposeful
fulfilling.
Yeah, the most fulfilling. Everywhere I was, there was really good parts about all of it. Things I loved, things I enjoyed, things that were challenging and that I learned, but I always felt like something was missing. And it wasn't just like, oh, I want to work for myself so I can sleep in and do whatever I want to do. It was like when I'm like, okay, well, I really love what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm doing something good here. And then, like I said, I think for me the most important part has been the flexibility. Miss Cindy needed so much care, and had we not been, there was a banana. Dad just threw a banana up the bank. There goes another one. There's so many banana situations. That's not the first time he's thrown a banana. But she needed so much care, and if I would have had a full-time job somewhere else, if Corey would have had a full-time job, she'd have been in a nursing home. And I just feel like I didn't have to do that. It's my responsibility to not do that. Here's my family that's cared for me. The least I can do is repay the favor. And we would have never been able to do it had we not worked for ourselves. And I'll also follow that up with, it's all the glory goes to God, because it's not like you know what I mean? I wouldn't have been able to figure this out. It's definitely a God thing, and it's the blessings and the good part about this, and I just wake up and feel like I just live the dream every day.
Right.
But it's because of His mercy and His blessings, and He's allowed me to do this, and He's who I ought to be thanking every single day. Look at what you've done for me. You've given me everything. Look at what you've done to allow me to spend time with my mama and my daddy and my sister and my family. Look at what you've done for me.
He's definitely been good to us, and I, like I said, we feel like we're led to do this and called to do it, and we can definitely, you know, see His hand in it. One thing that we should have mentioned, one huge thing that we forgot, is kind of on and off up until the last maybe year or so, we did gigs.
Yeah, we gigged pretty hard.
We gigged pretty hard. I mean, so every weekend in the summer, pretty much playing music somewhere. So we definitely did that all along the way. Maybe less now, but...
Right, and I think there was a lot of question about that. That was on my part. I'm the one that woke up one day and said, Katie gotta pump the brakes.
But now, if you think about it, I never thought about it like that until just now, but if you think about it, maybe we wouldn't be doing YouTube right now if it wasn't for that.
I don't know, and I think I'll always play music, and I'll always love music. There's just different seasons of different things in your life, but I just would again be so careful and so quick to give the glory to God and say this was
me too.
He did this for me. This was a gift He gave me. He led me here, not because I deserve it. I'm the last one that deserves it. It's just it's grace. The grace is the free gift. Opposite the offense is the free gift, which is grace. So I try to thank Him every day and try to do my part.
Yeah, we love doing YouTube, and we feel so blessed. And this was a very interesting topic that someone wanted to hear about, what we did in the past, our past jobs. You have to comment and let us know what you think of our past jobs, if that surprises you at all. And, you know, you can feel free to comment other video ideas below. We try our best. We got kind of a running list that we keep, and we want to keep things interesting and relative for our audience. We don't ever want to be making a bunch of content that you're not very interested in.
Boring, blue, bad stuff.
So I guess we'll get off here.
Awesome, we gotta sign off. I'm going to Corey's house this evening for a sleepover. That's right, so I have to sign off so I can get my bag packed. I don't think I ever spent the night at Corey's house before.
No, you probably haven't. Austin's gone hunting, so.
There'll be no house to spend the night in when I'm done. I'll burn it down in the morning. I'm joking. Just joking. So, anyway, we will sign off.
We always appreciate you watching.
And we love you, and we thank you. I just feel like there's so many of you. I wish I could shake your hand and tell you thank you for what you've done for my life.
Reach through and give you a hug.
You love me. You're sweet. You send all of these. You people don't. Let me tell you something right now. You people have never even met me, and you've been sweeter and nicer to me than lots of people. And that's not to say I'm mean and I deserve people to be mean to me, or not to say that I've known lots of mean people. But that'll surprise you. It's the people you don't even know over the internet that'll be more loving and sweet and understanding than some people in your own life. But I do love and I appreciate, and it means more than I could ever put into words. So hang in there, because the holidays are coming. It's going to be a crazy time for everybody.
Fun time. We love the
Oh,
holidays.
yes, it's fun. It's busy. Family and lots of different things. Trunk or treat at church.
Yeah. All right. God bless you. God keep you. We love you. Bye. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.